Bah! It's better than what I had for my Frontier one. Sorry about this one taking so long to come out. I've had school stuff to study for, and I've had real bad allergies. This is my room, and this is where I do all my recordings. And back here, it was really bad. I couldn't keep my eyes open for any longer than 5 minutes because they would start itching like crazy. So I got all my tests out of the way. My allergies are good. So yeah, that's what I was waiting for. I know it was about what, 2 weeks, but I'm good now. So on to the review I've been waiting the most for, because it's just the amount of hate this season gets, I think, is way on needed. Savers, which was the season that we thought was going to be the last season until a couple of years ago. So like at the end of Tamers, we jumped into a immediately new universe from Frontier. And it's definitely the most different of all of the seasons, mostly because there's a few things. It's a little, the characters are older, the art style changed, and it's meant to be, how do I say this? When the season was, I think, was being written, it was meant to be aimed at the people who grew up with adventure. And seeing how by the time this season was coming out, which was like, what, 6 years, 6, 7 years, probably put into 5, 6 years after Adventure ended, it was supposed to be aimed at them, so they kind of went back to the basic approach of evolution, and it was written to be more mature, to fit those people who grew up with adventure, and I think it did. I think it did that pretty well. Now, why the people this season was aimed for, the ones that hate it the most, I don't know. That's something I'm gonna be getting to later. Okay, story. Where do I start on this one? I promise this is not going to be as long as my Frontier one. I'm sorry, the Frontier has a lot of neat backstory stuff that I like talking about, so that's why my Frontier one was so long. So, where do I start with the story on this one? Okay, let me start here. I'm going to start with the group, because I completely forgot what happened before this. There was an exploration group that discovered the digital world, and they wanted to figure out what was going on. I'm not going to say any names just yet. They went there, had some problems, nut job that I'm going to be talking about later, keep shooting things. They get left behind. Oh, I don't remember why they got there, but I'll get to that later. They end up getting away, and somebody stays behind and ends up making friends with a god. He's supposed to be one of the Olympus 12. Marukimon. He makes friends with them to try to get Digimon human peace. I'm gonna say before this, I'm just gonna get out of the way. The man who just opened the first gate to the digital world, their son was sucked into the digital world. They were two of the people that went with him on this trip to the digital world to try to find their son, but they couldn't find him. So after all this happened, the guy who was shooting at things, known as Kuroda, and trust me, I'll be talking a lot about him later, comes back with this weird robot thing and ends up destroying a whole bunch of Digimon because he thinks that they're evil. So he ended up, Marukimon thought that, no, not Marukimon, Yggdrasil, basically the king of the digital world, deemed him a liar because he said humans were not going to cause any damage to the digital world, and Kuroda comes in and starts wrecking the place. So I'll get to what happens later because it kind of ruins setting up the story if I go ahead and talk about that now. So right off the gate, we're introduced to the next Goggle Boy. Take that back. Okay, Marcus isn't a Goggle Boy. He's the first leader, hero, main hero, who doesn't wear goggles. Is that where the hate for the season comes from? He doesn't wear goggles? Makes about as much sense as anything else. He's a street fighter. Basically, he loves punching things. Literally, this becomes a recurring theme throughout Sabers. An agent from DATS, which stands for Digital Accident Tactics Squad. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is sent to this area where a Digimon codenamed Raptor 1 got loose. It's a big Agumon. Is that why people hate Sabers? Because it's not the Agumon from Adventure? So, she runs... Yoshi, I don't think I've said her name yet, finds him standing toe-to-toe with this guy, Marcus, and he ends up dealing blow for blow with Agumon, and everybody, Yoshi, her partner Lalamon, and the DATS commander Samson, are all, like, stunned by this, because no one's ever done this before. So, after their little bout, Agumon calls him, depends on which version you're watching. If you're watching the Japanese version, he calls him Aniki, which is Japanese for, like, brother. Brother that's not a family member. You know how you have friends that you look up as, like, brothers and sisters? That's basically what it was. Or in the English version, he calls him boss, so... go with it. So they end up becoming friends, kind of. Yoshi tries to kidnap Agumon. They run away. Marcus takes him back to his house. Yoshi's forced to live with him until she finds Agumon. Well, I skipped something big. At the end of the first episode, he's given a Digivice because he's gotten this thing called a Digisoul, or Digicharge in the English version. Basically, it's your own, like, digital energy that you put into the Digivice and give it to your partner, and it causes them to digivolve. I think that's what it is. I don't think they ever really explain what the heck a Digisoul was, but that's what I think it is. So, you know, we get Geo Greymon. Yeah, it's not Greymon. Oh, boo-hoo. Nostalgia tards start crying now. Huh, he's not the big potbelly Greymon. He's on roids now. So Yoshi's job is to stay with his family until she finds Agumon. And Marcus decides, well, the only way I can keep Agumon is if I join DATS. So, there you go. Agumon's not going to be kidnapped anymore. They stay partners. Okay. You think it's all going good until Thomas, who is the child prodigy of Japan/Austria, because he's part Austrian, part Japanese. He's born in a rich family, so he's kind of snotty at first, but he's a genius, and it kind of and sometimes I think he's too much of a genius for his own good, but I'm getting into his character a little bit. He shows up, and then him and Marcus sing how one's like, Marcus is the guy who doesn't think and goes right in, and Thomas is the guy who thinks about everything before he does anything, so they're complete opposites. More opposites than Ty and Matt. It takes these two forever to finally get along, and even when they do get along, they have a lot of disagreements. And these two just are at each other's throats because they keep getting in each other's way and everything. And it's pretty funny to watch their disagreements and everything. So time goes on, they're stopping Digimon from coming in. And then a Digi-Egg comes in and lands with Marcus's sister. It hatches into... I forgot what it's called. And this Digimon called Falcomon comes in and tries to take it back. It digivolves into Biomon, a Biomon, and is able to fight him off. Okay, nice and good. So Marcus' sister's about to become a member. Dats? No. Apparently, Falcomon is working for the Marukimon that I was telling you about. He got just as upset with this guy than as Yggdrasil, so he's basically sending in armies. I think, no, it wasn't him. Someone was, yeah, he was sending in Digimon. No. Just ignore, forget what I'm saying. Because, this Biomon was supposed to be, like, a part of Marukimon's family. It was sucked into the human world, so they went to retrieve it. When Falcomon came back, Marukimon stepped in and tried to get Biomon back and fight off them because they're like, oh, we just wanted. I can't remember what his reasons for. I'm forgetting a lot of things about the story for some reason. So he ends up killing Biomon and takes the egg and goes back to the Digiworld and then corrupts Biomon, sends him back. He evolves into Quilamon and then into Garurumon. Yeah, even for me, that was kind of weird seeing that. And we get the first ultimate, which Marcus gets a stronger charge and becomes Rise Greymon, which I think looks cooler than the original Metal Greymon. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying that. And he ends up killing him, sending the egg back. Okay, so Saber Leomon tells Marukimon that he's being too soft, so he's gonna go in and do things himself. And he goes in and he's destroyed by this green-purple robot thingy. Shoots him in the head once and he kind of fades away. Which is weird because none of the Dats Digimon could hurt him. It's weird, huh? Because he's a Mega, that's why. So when they go back to Dats, they run into this man called Kuroda. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. Well, he kind of treats him like he's basically a good guy at this point because him and Samson were a part of this group that went to the Digiworld. Little did they know that Kuroda's really up to something. So he suggests that they go to the Digiworld to try and kill off Marukimon before he starts sending armies, well, more armies, into the Digiworld to try to destroy Earth. So Dats, Kuroda, and all of them get sent in, and they hunt down Marukimon, and then the truth, everything that's been shrouded in mystery comes true, gets revealed. Man, I completely forgot something else. Keenan is the kid that was sucked into the digital world. He was sent in as a baby, so he's been growing up in the digital world, so he's a human thinking he's a Digimon, and he's on Marukimon's side, and his partner is that Falcomon. Oh, I'm getting things way out of order in this. Just bear with me, okay? For some reason, I'm not remembering the story from this season all that well right now. I don't know. Wake up. So, where am I going with this? I'm out of it right now. I'm sorry, guys. They find Marukimon, and he explains everything to everybody, saying that Keenan's really a human, and that stuns him because he thought he was a Digimon. Marcus's dad was the one that Marukimon became friends with and Drazel locked up, but no one knows that. Marukimon didn't even know that. So Marcus knows that his dad's been gone because he was lost in the Digiworld. He knows him. So that thinks, oh, he might still be here in the Digiworld. And that Kuroda was the one that came in and attacked all the Digimon. And he's the reason why Marukimon's mad at humans. So Kuroda goes, okay, yeah, you know, I'm gonna destroy all you anyway. I'm starting with you, Marukimon. So he sends his his green purple Digimon. I completely forgot what its name was. Give me 1 second. Well, let me go ahead and skip on. The thing ends up destroying a Marukimon, and this threat takes everybody off, and this Digimon that he created just starts kicking their behinds in every which direction, and they can't seem to stop it. It's too powerful for them. Okay, here it is. Gizumon. Right, Gizumon. There's like 2 other versions of it. So he ends up getting killed, and they end up destroying one of the Gizumon because Falcomon his ultimate, which was Ravemon. No, Ravemon. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Chromon, or Yatagramon in the Japanese version. Somehow he's stronger than Rise Greymon, Mirage Galgamon, and Lilamon put together. I don't know. That was a bit weird. He ends up destroying Gizumon. They end up going back. And when they get back, well, Kuroda left before they did. When they finally get back, they get kidnapped. The Digimon get kidnapped. Dad's memories gets erased. Keenan is kidnapped for study. And the other Digimon, the Digimon are captured, and they're like, okay, we gotta get out. And they find their partners, try to jog their memories, and they end up doing. That was a nice episode. And they meet up and they head back to Dad's headquarters, and it gets blown up. So Kuroda's going off the deep end. So he ends up opening another gateway to the digital world and heads in. So they decide to go to Keenan's parents because they still have a Digigate in their garage. Always gotta put it in the garage. And they go there, and when Thomas, Marcus, and Yoshi jump into it, and Keenan jump into it, these 3 bozo, well, 2 of them, 2 of these bozos jump in, and when they're going in the gate to the digital world, they run into these 3 boneheads who were able to turn into Digimon. Frontier all over again, huh? Yeah, I know you're liking that. They're biohybrids, and there's some project Kuroda was working on. He's able to fuse Digimon data with human DNA, and makes it to where the Digisoul can activate a bioevolution. Bioevolution. And these guys, they're too strong for Dats to handle. So when they get to Earth, they run into this Digimon called Bancho Leomon, and he ends up saving them, giving them some hints, and runs away. And they're confused at who he is. So when they're fighting the biohybrids again, Rise Greymon, Mirage Galgamon, and Lilamon are getting creamed again. Their Digivice ICs crack and fall off when their Digisouls go way out of whack. And it was a nice little sentence because the Megas kind of come out of the energy around the 3 Digimon and just knock them out cold. So with their Digivice is completely destroyed, what are they going to do? Well, they run into Bancho Leomon again. He's in this thing called a Digisoul Dojo. It was pretty cool. And he's like, okay, you guys come in here in my train. You 3 stand out here and just wait. And it was funny seeing Galmon do hopscotch. It's like, he's too serious for this, yet he does it anyway. So he's like, you're not leaving here until you charge your Digifold to max power. And just as they're doing that, the biohybrid trio shows up and starts kicking Agumon, Galmon, and Lalamon around outside, and they get like, let us out. No, you haven't done your training yet. So Marcus finally gets it, and the other 2 follow suit. They go outside, hit Mega level, Shine Greymon, Mirage Galgamon, and Rosemon. And payback time, the 3 biohybrids get embarrassed. So now that they got Mega, they go to the capital of the digital world, and let me look up his name again. I'll get to that when I get to that. If I can find it in here. They go there. Here's okay. Eldiram. Screw it. I'm not even gonna pronounce that. Someone will know how to say it. You know who I'm talking about. Eldariamon. Let's go with that. Who has like the Digiworld capital on his back, and it gets overrun. It gets invaded. Thomas takes out one of the biohybrids, revamped. They get stronger Digimon fused with them. Mirage Galgamon takes out. Well, Thomas takes out one. Yoshi takes out another. And then some of the Gizamon plant gateway portals underneath the Eldramon. I'm probably gonna pronounce it 4 or 5 different ways by the time this is over. And it gets sucked into the digital world, which is weird. So he comes in and he uses a Gizamon javelin to kill it, and they absorb its data. So why is he absorbing the data? Well, while this is happening, Shine Greymon kicks the last biohybrid guys can, and all's good, right? No. Thomas gets taken back to his family home in Japan, where he runs into his sister and his dad. His sister has some kind of disease. I can't remember what it was. I want to say it's some kind of cancer. Give me a second here. Yeah, I've got Digimon Wiki open for this one. Let me see. Has a disease, a rare disease that at the time cannot be treated. Well, that tells me a lot. There's not even a name for it. So when they go inside, Kuroda's there waiting for Thomas. He's like, okay, if you help me, I can help treat your sister. So Thomas goes with it. And the first thing he tells Thomas to do is to eliminate Marcus. So here we go again. The tie mat thing. They're too busy fighting Gizamon, Shine Greymon, and Mirage Galgamon and Thomas show up, and Mirage Galgamon and Shine Greymon start fighting. Thomas and Marcus start fighting, and Marcus goes so nuts that the the burst mode that Bancho Leomon told him about like earlier that day, that new Digivice burst that they got when they got the Digisoul to hit Mega level. He said it's an unstable ability and you shouldn't use it. Well, when he goes nut, Marcus gets ticked off at Thomas, so the Digisoul reverts over to Shine Greymon and he goes a corrupt burst mode. Skull Greymon much? And turns into this thing called Shine Greymon Ruin mode. He goes insane, starts blowing everything up, goes haywire, and he ends up killing himself and turns back into an egg. And this cracks Marcus because he lost his buddy and he put Agumon through a lot of crap. So Thomas goes back and Kuroda reveals his pet, which is Belphimon, one of the 7 demon lords. And this is the only time, besides Belzamon, that a demon lord was put into the anime. Though Belzamon was never evil. Well, I take that back. Instance and Tamers. So he releases Belphimon, which he was collecting the data to give the data to Belphimon to wake him up. There you go. So when he sets him loose, Thomas is sent to do the surgery on his sister, and the surgery is basically make her a biohybrid. It would cure her disease, but at the same time would, make her a biohybrid, which is turning into a Digimon. So he goes in to do the surgery, takes his necklace off of her, which was like threatening her. It was like a thing that Kuroda was using against Thomas. Takes it off, And him and Galgamon start beating up the doctors, get her out of there, and shut down the earpiece that Kuroda was using to control Belphimon. So that was Thomas's plan. He wasn't actually betraying them, he was trying to save his sister. But Belphimon's already loose, so I don't think he thought that part of his plan out too well. And so Kuroda gets desperate and turns himself into digital energy and fuses himself with Belphimon, thus waking him up from the sleep mode to his true form. And at first, it's Kuroda's mind and Belphimon's body. And then he reveals his true plan, well, he did this earlier, that with Belphimon, he can control both worlds. So basically, he went from wanting to destroy all Digimon to becoming ruler of both planets, which he became worse than what he accused the Digimon of being. And now he fused himself with Belphimon, and now he is a Digimon, so this guy's insane. He's nuts. And I think we kind of got that hint anyway. I mean, look at his face. His hair looks like he hasn't washed it in months. I'm gonna stop now. So Mirage Galgamon, Rosemon can't tackle this guy. He's too strong. So Keenan somehow gets Ravemon to Falcomon to digivolve to Ravemon, and he makes some indents on him. He actually put Belphimon on his toes. So Marcus and his Digi-Egg come running in because he's getting sick of seeing him fight without him. And the egg hatches into a Coromon, and he's sad because he thinks when Digimon get reborn they might lose their memory. And he thought that happened to Agumon, but no, he still remembers them. So he digivolves to Agumon, and then they go in. Get Shine Greymon going. And Shine Greymon, seeing how he's the least damage, the others try to protect him, and he goes in for the kill, and he can't hurt him either. So Dats is basically put on their last. They got their backs against the wall, they're in trouble. So what are you going to do? So Marcus and Shine Greymon finally figure out the true path to burst mode. So we've got my favorite moment in Sabers. Shine Greymon hits burst mode, and he just abuses Belphimon, and probably Marcus's most awesome moment. Just decks him and kills Belphimon. But Kuroda opens I don't know what he was trying to do, but he blew open a gateway so big that you could see both worlds from the other. You could see the Digi world from Earth and vice versa. So basically what's happened is that the gateway is so big that both worlds are going to cram into each other. So the king of the digital world, Yggdrasil, sends the Royal Knights to go destroy Earth so the digital world have nothing to crash into. Smart computer. So Bancho Leomon comes in and holds the Digiworld up using his Digisoul, and while Dats is fighting off Royal Knights, Marcus goes to try to find Yggdrasil, and Yggdrasil pops up to be his dad. No, it's Yggdrasil in his father's body. And when Dats surrounds Yggdrasil, Bancho Leomon comes out and says, "No, I'm your dad," and explains that, well, when Kuroda came back and went, Maelstrom all over the digital world, Kuroda wanted to kill him, Marcus's dad, and Bancho Leomon took his soul in with him, and Yggdrasil found out about this and then put its brain floppy disk into his dad's body. So that's what happened there. I'm just going to make this brief because I'm going too long with the story again. So he sacrifices himself to save the others. And Yggdrasil's full body gets revealed. He's this giant floating butterfly computer thing. And starts blowing up Earth. So none of the megas or burst mode, well, I don't think they no, the burst mode's never won against. None of the megas can hurt it. So this weird instance when Marcus and Agumon are captured happens where Agumon gets this weird aura around him. It's later to be called Agumon burst mode. He just blows a hole through Yggdrasil, and Marcus punches the remaining bits. And Yggdrasil's like, so this is the power of Digimon human bonding. So, okay, yeah, you guys can have your peace. You can have peace between both worlds. Okay, just have to punch the king of the Digimon in the face. Okay, sure. So, Marcus' dad comes back. That was a nice moment. And the Digimon are like, hey, let's go back to the Digiworld and help fix things. Because we need to fix things. So they all say their goodbyes. And right before they left, Marcus comes like, I'm going with you. I'm going to fight with you in the Digiworld Agumon. Everybody's freaking out except for his dad. It's like, oh, do it. So that's a very poor story explanation. Alright. So, Marcus Damon. You gotta love him. I mean, yeah, he's a bit of a hothead. He doesn't think. And people say he doesn't develop any. He does. It's just his mindset changes, not his approach and his actions. He becomes more realistic of things over time. And he actually becomes stronger, so he knows when to use his fists and stuff later than he does earlier. So I mean, yeah, he grows, he just doesn't show it. I think that's just because that's how he is. But that's one thing that I like about Marcus. No matter what, he's gonna punch the dang thing in the face. He's fun to watch, and him and Agumon, especially in the first arc of the season, which is them capturing rogue Digimon and stuff. It's hilarious watching those two do their stuff because the first arc in Sabers is basically a comedy. That's one reason why I like Sabers so much. This group is fun to watch. Thomas. Oh yeah, let me say Agumon. This Agumon is a lot funnier than the one from Adventure because he's just as dim-witted as Marcus is. They're basically clones. And last time we had a Digimon human cloning thing was basically Davis and Vmon, but they both irritated me. But Marcus and his Agumon, I love both of them to death, so I'm okay with that, with those two being so similar. So Thomas, like I said, he's a prodigy. He's a genius. He graduated from college when he was 9 or something. Probably got the age wrong. So he, like I said, he's a genius, and he basically hates Marcus at the beginning because he looks at him as an imbecile. But he begins to loosen up around people and begins to accept Marcus's style as his own, and they end up becoming pretty good friends. That's his development though. He loosens up and becomes more normal than genius crazy, if that makes any sense. And he ends up stops getting mad at Marcus and, you know, pushes him to do what he does. So it's neat. His partner Gaomon is one loyal Mon. I mean, he calls him Sir and Master all the time. Those two are a very good duo because they think everything through, and their execution is spot on with their plans and their strategies and everything. It's a very good duo. Those two. That's a good duo. Yoshi, I didn't really notice any development in her. She may have developed some, but I didn't notice it. She's feisty. She's how do I put this? I don't even know how to describe Yoshi. She's probably my second favorite female character behind Sora in the series. Her partner Lalamon is funny, especially in the movie. She's a little weirdo. She's floating around with the same facial expression all the time. I like her. Keenan's interesting because, like I said, he sucked into the digital world as a baby, grew up in the digital world, thought he was a Digimon, and then when he runs across the humans, he hates them, finds out he's a human, takes him forever to adjust, and then he becomes like a human with a Digimon brain, and he gets it after a while. Near the end of the season, he understands everything and he knows what his placement is. That's his develop. He gets the most development in the series by far, in the season by far, because of all the stuff he has to go through. It reminds me. I like it better than, like I said, I like Koichi's story better than Ken's. I like Keenan's better than Ken also, but I think I like Keenan more than Koichi. What main backstory and development and everything, just because it's odd having a human grow up in the digital world like that. It was a very, very cool idea that they didn't screw up. Karada, probably my third favorite villain in the series, just because he's a human, so that gives it a twist, and just the fact that he's insane, and he managed to get a demon lord to work for him for a brief period of time, and he became the demon lord, and all this neat stuff. I mean, like I said, I explained him enough in my overly long story overview. Like I said, he's probably my third favorite villain in the series. You just love to hate him. Okay, what can I say about Karate? You just love to hate him. So that's my crummy character overview. So all in all, where does the hate from the season come from? I'm serious. I don't get it. I've talked to some people on comments on different videos around YouTube saying, oh, I like Sabers. And people are like, man, when did you start watching Digimon? Around the era of Frontier? Because if you were a 90s kid and grew up watching Adventure back when it was airing on Fox Kids, you'll know what's wrong with Sabers. And I'm like, I'm a 90s kid. I watched Adventure when I was on Fox Kids, and I don't see anything really wrong with Sabers. Well, I mean, there are some flaws to it, but it's not the worst season like many people say it is. Because it takes the old school approach. You don't have cards, you don't have biomerging, you don't have spirit evolution. It's the basic champion to ultimate to mega thing with a new level added into it. Yeah, it's more mature. Yeah, the art style changed. Yeah, it's not the same Agumon. Yes, Marcus doesn't have goggles. But why it's universally the most hated season in the series is beyond my comprehension. I mean, 02 and Young Hunters are obviously worse than Sabers. 02, I've explained why. Cross Hunters, I'll get to it in a few videos. Now, seriously, why is Sabers hated so much? I don't get it. Like I said, I can understand why Tamers and Frontier get so much hate because of the approaches. Spirit evolution, yeah, I can understand why people won't like the human to Digimon thing, and the realism of Tamers was probably a bit out of some people's lists of things they like. But there's nothing really, you know, unique about Sabers. So why is it so hated? I personally think it's one of the best. It's one of my favorite seasons. It's my third favorite season in the series. Because, I mean, it takes an adventure approach. It's funny. It's probably the funniest season. It's hilarious at the beginning, and then it gradually gets darker. It has a great villain in Kuroda, an interesting character in Keenan, adds the burst modes, and the ending with the whole blown hole between the two worlds, Royal Knights attacking everything. Like I said back in my Tamers review, I thought the D Reaper was a bit too sci-fi to be a Digimon thing. Personally, I think the thing that Sabers did here, I think, is more fitting to Digimon, just because with him opening up holes and everything, and then he ends up blowing one up too much, I can see that being Digimon-y. So, I mean, I like the last arc of Sabers more than the one of Tamers. And personally, I think in some cases, Sabers is darker than Tamers, and in other cases, Tamers is darker than Sabers. So, like I said, I still don't see where the hate from the season comes from. And if you hate Sabers, tell me why. I don't see where this hate comes from. If it's really the fact that the Agumon's different, that Marcus has no goggles, that the art style changed, or that they're older and stuff, if that's your reasons for hating this season, then that's crybaby reasons, and I don't take those seriously. Basically, you're hating on the season because you want to hate on it. You don't have any valid argument. So seriously, if you hate Sabers, let me know. I want to know why you dislike the season, because I don't get it. I really don't. I like this season. I think it did a lot right and it went back to the original format that made me get into Digimon in the first place. It adds a lot of new things to the table, has a great villain, the story is cool, and it's got some dark moments, especially when Marcus runs into Yggdrasil for the first time. That stuff's pretty intense. I don't have that big of a grudge against the season. Although I would say that maybe 3 Tamers and Sabers might be interchangeable on my lists, and every so often. I mean, there's some things I like about Tamers more, and there's some things I like about Sabers more. But the reason why I would put Sabers ahead of Tamers is because I like the characters in Sabers a lot more than I do in Tamers. Like I said back in my Tamers review, I didn't really care for Takato, Henry, and Rika all that much, but I like Marcus, Thomas, and Yoshi. So that would be my reason for liking Sabers more. I like the characters better. So, what are the things I don't like about Sabers? I'm trying to think. The whole Marukimon was an okay villain. I'm not really gonna. Well, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head right now, but it's just there's not many exciting moments. It's got a lot of stretches of just kind of emptiness. Like when they go to the Digi world, they put some filler episodes in there, and the filler episodes in the season aren't very good. It just has a lot of dry spots, and that's one reason why I like Adventure and Xros Wars so much, because there's a lot of exciting, jaw-dropping moments, and Sabers doesn't have many of those. So that would be one reason. That's one thing about Sabers I wouldn't like. It doesn't have many, amazing moments. Okay, well, I think I've gone on long enough. This was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So like I said, Sabers is my 3rd favorite season in the series. Hate me if you want to, but that's how I like Sabers, and deal with it. I'm sticking with it too. So next time I'm going to be hitting up the newest season that ended. Well, it started about 2 years ago, somewhere around 2 years ago. Xros Wars, which I know a lot of you haven't seen it yet, so I'm gonna put a big spoiler tag at the beginning of the next one. Yeah, it was a long wait in between Sabers and Xros Wars, but man, it was worth it. I'm gonna be hitting up on why the newest season is probably, well, not the newest season. The second newest season is probably. Let me say this though. Remember, I know how much you know how much I like adventure, because when I make these comparisons between seasons, I never make a comparison to adventure, because adventure is just like way up here, and then all the other seasons are like down here somewhere. Well, I'm going to be making a lot of compare and contrast between Xros Wars and adventure, because Xros Wars really did push the limits of adventure for my favorite season. So, I know, right? I think it's an amazing season. I'm going to explain why I think Xros Wars is a great season. So, I'm going to introduce you to Shoutmon and Taiki Kudo and the great army of Crossheart next time. So, yeah, I should have that one up sometime middle next week. Maybe Sunday if I get done watching the season soon enough. Alright, so next time, Xros Wars. See you guys.